Good evening and welcome to APTN National News. I'm Daryl Stranger. 2 days after Ontario Provincial Police arrested 9 land defenders in 6 nations of the Grand River Territory, a court has expanded an injunction to prevent demonstrators from blocking roads and a construction site on disputed land. In a virtual hearing today, Superior Court Justice R. John Harper ordered the removal of the 1492 Landback Lane encampment at Foxgate Development's housing construction site. Harper also lengthened an area of an existing injunction to include a large portion of Haldimand County, as well as Highway 6. Haudenosaunee land defenders are not named in the injunction. The commercial fishing industry in the Northwest Territories has undergone many changes since it started up in the 1950s, and for years fishers have been struggling to make ends meet. Now there's an agreement between industry and government that makes big promises to boost the sector. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs has more.
It's 4:30 a.m. at the wharf in Hay River, Northwest Territories. Fishermen hustle 7 days a week during commercial season from early July to September. But the industry on Great Slave Lake hasn't come close to reaching quota for years, turning in 1.2 million pounds out of the 3.6 million available.
Fishing's always been fishing, except for the prices. Like when I first come up here in '69, they were good prices for that day. Like trout was $1 a pound, and now I think it's 25 cents, is it? Or 10 cents, something like that.
Despite being a good 3,500-pound fish day, Lawrence Morin and Cameron Beaverbones lose out big time. Since the 1970s, NWT fish have been shipped to Winnipeg to be processed. It's purchased by a sole buyer, Freshwater, a Crown corporation. But that's all set to change with a new Memorandum of Understanding recently signed between Tucho Fisheries Cooperative and the NWT government. The agreement outlines a joint plan to build a new fish plant and allow Tucho to run operations. President of the co-op, Beaverbones, says this will increase returns as fish and fish byproducts will then be sold in the north.
That freight is way too idle. Like we gotta try to fill up that truck there. Like it leaves every 3 days, I think, every 2 days, 2 days there. Like with the new plant, they have the processing plant there and the fillet fish there, and that's going to help us out quite a bit there.
The plan also includes supporting new fishermen through training. Is it hard for people just starting out then?
Yeah, right off the start, it's kind of hard there. First year, maybe first 2 years.
Is that just the cost of?
Yeah. Then after that, I got other people who help them out too, try to get them going. I had these young guys coming in, they're using my boat, their boat broke down there, so I lent them a spare boat.
That's good, 24 weights.
Brian Eames is that young guy at 25 and has been commercially fishing for a decade, but he's still considered new to the game.
There isn't much training. No, if there was training, that would help. Quite tough job, and the pay was up. I think there'll be more job opportunities for younger people.
Eames hopes to be his own boss in a few years. He says replacing the outdated fish plant will provide more jobs and support the winter ice fishing industry. But construction of the facility is more than a year late when bids for the project exceeded the original budget. APTN News asked the territorial government where the project was at now, and we were told there's plans to break ground this fall.
We expect the designer to come back to us and make suggested changes with the design in order to reduce the pricing. There's been some, talk about the, how the cooling in the plant, etc., how we can, do things a little smarter. And
to be able to continue what he loves with a little more cash, it's a promising future for fishermen. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, APTN National News, Hay River.
We want to hear what you think about this agreement. Here's how to continue the conversation. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. Find us online at aptnnews.ca and on youtube.com/aptnnews. Also, you can follow APTN News on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more Indigenous news. The urban Indigenous community in Montreal is mourning the loss of 2 homeless Inuit women who were fatally struck by cars in separate incidents over the past month. Kitty Kakinerk, originally from Kwaktak, was struck and killed by a passing car just last week. Dinah Matt, a woman from Akulavik, died in a car collision last month. July was a particularly deadly month with 6 Montreal pedestrian deaths on record. Advocates who gathered for a memorial say cutbacks during the COVID-19 pandemic are forcing more and more Indigenous people onto the street, putting them at higher risk of injury or death.
There's been too many this year for lack of services. I'm so fed up with COVID. Bring back the shelters, bring back the services, bring back the mental health supports.
It's time for a short break, but still to come, the first Ojibwe pony was born in Manitoba for the first time in decades after nearly going extinct. Beginning in the east, 25 in a mix of sun and cloud in St. John's and 30 degrees in Fredericton. 31 in Happy Valley Goose Bay and 30 in Cartwright. 27 in a mix of sun and cloud in Quebec City and 28 in Montreal. 28 in sun in Toronto and 28 in sun in Sarnia. 27 in clouds in Thunder Bay and 26 in a mix of sun and cloud in Sudbury. 26 in a mix of sun and cloud in God's Lake and 23 in The Paw. 28 and sun in Winnipeg and 28 and sun in Dauphin. A mix of sun and cloud and 26 in Regina and 24 in Saskatoon. 17 degrees in Buffalo Narrows and 20 degrees in Stony Rapids. Welcome back. The Ojibwe pony is a rare breed believed to be the only Indigenous horse on Turtle Island. According to some researchers, only four remained by the 1970s thanks to the Government of Canada. Now, for what is believed to be the first time since then, a baby pony was born in Manitoba. Brittany Hobson now with more.
Outside of Winnipeg, Trevor Kirchhoff's property is home to your typical farm animals, like chickens and turkeys. But now it's also home to a rare horse breed called the Ojibwe pony. For the first time in decades, a new foal was born in the province.
Exciting and also really nerve-wracking. We want to take the best care of them that we can. And it's a big responsibility, I think, because they are so rare and so special.
The Ojibwe pony is believed to be the only existing breed of horse developed by Indigenous people in Canada. Oral history suggests versions of the breed existed pre-contact. The pony is considered to be a rare breed with approximately 200 left in North America. In Manitoba, there's less than 10. Giguanains is the newest addition. Her mother, Asa Makwe, has been with Kirchhoff's family for 3 years. Last summer, they decided to bring in a stallion to mate with her. The filly was born last month.
The pony was laying down in the barn, and I thought, oh, that's unusual. She doesn't usually do that, especially first thing in the morning. And so I rushed to get the quarter horse out and give the pony a bit more space. And then when I came back in, the filly was partway out already.
Kirchhoff is the registrar with the Ojibwe Horse Society. The organization does conservation work across the continent. Kirchhoff's job is to keep track of when new foals are born and to collect DNA samples. He took on the role after getting Asa Makwe from an auction. Prior to this, he had never heard of the breed, which is known to be quite friendly.
The most important feature of them is the way that they relate to people. They're very friendly. I mean, as we have seen on camera, right? Like they're going up to the camera guy wanting to investigate, and that's just how they are.
While the Ojibwe pony is considered smaller than other breeds, they can work just as hard. Kimberly Campbell and her husband Darcy Whitecrow run Grey Raven Ranch in Seine River First Nation in northwestern Ontario. They are caretakers to 8 Ojibwe ponies.
They're very sturdy and stocky, so they can carry a reasonably sized adult person, right? But also a load, and they just work well for living in the woods. So there's the thought that these could be the remnants of a horse that survived the Ice Age, right?
The couple started the ranch in 2014. Whitecrow remembers the ponies living in the area when he was a child.
Horses roam free here, this breed here, that roam free all over the reserve over here. So, when you needed them, you went to pick them up, right? And so that was our form of travel off the community that was designated by the government at that time. Was horses.
Many herds were displaced because of development in northwestern Ontario, and some say outsiders would come in and round up groups of the horses to sell off to meat or glue factories. By the 70s, there was only 4 remaining mares left. The Canadian government attempted to exterminate them, calling them nuisances. That's when some men on the U.S. side of the border stepped in and transported the remaining mares to a reserve in Minnesota. About 20 years ago, the breed was repatriated back to Canada. Whitecrow says he started the ranch to bring the pony back to his people.
Just ran around like they were part of the deer herds and everything like that. And this is what the elders were saying.
It's been a slow process to get numbers back up. Breeding is expensive and people generally want bigger horses. It's estimated there's 10 major breeders from Quebec to Alberta down to Alabama. Campbell calls the birth of this new foal a miracle.
Right, that this breed so many times has been on the edge. Yeah. So many times on the edge.
Bounces back.
And somehow something happens to bring new life to this breed, right?
Kirchhoff says it will be a few years before the filly is ready to breed. Until then, he is happy to celebrate a new beginning.
I think that's, it's a tiny piece maybe of reconciliation.
Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Clothing north of 60 is important, not only for function, but as a way to share culture and pass on Métis, Inuit, and Dene tradition. In this previously aired story, Charlotte Moritz-Jacobs speaks with some northern fashionistas.
It takes supreme attention to detail when working with traditional furs and hides. Designers in the Northwest Territories carry on culture passed down from generations through sewing and beading. The Naka Indigenous Cultural Gala held in Detta NWT this month featured well-known artists and designers sharing their collection for the first time. Berna Bolio is a Clinchon seamstress, known for her traditional ceremonial clothing and customized bridal and formal wear.
To me, it's for their one big day for them. And for me to be designing that, I feel really proud. I feel very privileged doing that.
She's well educated with diplomas and certificates in fashion design, business, and finance, and had to persevere prejudice in schooling.
We had 3 Native students before, and they never made it. And I said, you haven't tried me. I'm just like, my determination is just so overwhelming. I really want this so badly. So he asked me, if you can go out there and find a sponsor, I will take you in. So that afternoon, I got Native women to sponsor me.
Alice Wheatflat says the opening prayer for the gala. She was born in 1949 in Willaday, near Yellowknife.
They're new kind, they're tiny little beads in there.
She was raised by her aunties, who all sewed.
Back then, they didn't have no beads. They just sewed embroidery thread. Yeah, there's not much color, maybe 3 or 4 colors. Even the beads came in later in the 60s, and it has green, 2 different color, green, yellow, and orange.
By the age of 9, she sewed her first mocks, with some minor hiccups.
This is wraparound, right? And then at the end, you're supposed to cut this piece, and then you fold it.
Yes.
Like that I forgot to do. I forgot to do that one. in the church, and everybody behind this giggling. My aunties are, they're supposed to be praying, not giggling,
Now We Flat can make just about anything for anyone.
They're so proud. They always tell me, I know you made this, they tell me, when I see them downtown.
Sharon Firth wowed audiences on the catwalk for the first time. Four-time Gwich'in Olympian turned to sewing as a way of healing.
Once my twin sister passed away, I had to find something to do. What is Sharon Firth going to do now? And I had no idea. I was so down in the dumps and lost, and because half of me was gone. So I just thought, okay, what would Shirley do?
Along with sealskin, she uses fabrics she picked up from her travels. With every stitch brings satisfaction.
And this here is silk, and the material is from England. The covers, for example, that's my childhood. And that's what I seen my mom wearing, and my aunts from McClavick and McPherson, and they were such beautiful sewers and seamstresses.
From mucklucks to baby belts to mitts, each tells a story, made with pride and love. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Dada.
It's time for one more break, but still ahead, APTN Investigates added another award to their collection earlier today. We'll tell you which one when we come back. Over in the west, 18 degrees in Fort Chippewa and 21 in Peace River. 24 in a mix of sun and cloud in Lethbridge and 19 in Edmonton. 21 in clouds in Vancouver and 25 in a mix of sun and clouds in Kamloops. 17 degrees in Prince Rupert and 22 in Fort Nelson. 18 degrees in a mix of sun and cloud in Whitehorse and 20 degrees in Beaver Creek. 24 in Fort Simpson and 23 in Trout Lake. 15 degrees in cloudy in Colville Lake and 19 in Fort McPherson. 23 in Baker Lake and 13 in Repulse Bay. 8 degrees in Resolute and 8 degrees and sun in Arctic Bay. Welcome back. APTN Investigates has another feather to put in its cap. Investigates is this year's winner of the Native American Journalists Association's Richard LaCourse Award for Investigative Journalism. LaCourse helped build the NAJA. Investigates is the first Indigenous investigative reporting program in Canada offering hard-hitting stories that change lives. Cullen Crozier's episode Broken Trust, about a Kelowna, British Columbia social worker accused of defrauding youth in care out of their savings, takes this year's award. APTN Investigates will be part of the virtual presentation of the National Native Media Awards on October the 15th. And with the Stanley Cup playoffs back on, we thought we would go back to the spring of 2019 when APTN broadcast its first NHL game. It was a first for us. We teamed up with Rogers Sportsnet and did the game in the Plains Cree language. With more from behind the scenes of that game, here's Dennis Ward.
And go blue. This was the start of a milestone moment in Canadian television history. Sportsnet and APTN teaming up to deliver the first ever NHL game broadcast live on TV in Plains Cree. For play-by-play announcer Clarence Iron, it was a lifelong dream fulfilled.
It happened. My dream came true. But to call it in Cree, I never thought. I thought I'd do it in English because I called a lot of English hockey games before. But to do the Cree, even myself, sometimes I amaze myself.
Iron has long been recognized as one of the Cree voices of hockey, but he hopes this historic moment opens the doors for the next generation too. So does studio host Earl Wood, who was beaming with excitement throughout the game between the Montreal Canadiens and the Carolina Hurricanes.
I want to invite all those young people out there, no matter where you are, to take it upon yourself to gain an interest in our language and to utilize it. It has a place in this modern day society and can take you anywhere you want to go. Anywhere you want to go, your language will take you there.
The game was pure entertainment on and off the ice, with the Hurricanes playing spoilers for Canadians fans in a 2-1 overtime win in a game with playoff implications. Even if you didn't understand a word, you could feel the excitement in the call. Sportsnet's executive producer of special events was on hand for the groundbreaking partnership.
That was exciting tonight. It really was, and to see some of the tweets that were being put out on social media was pretty exciting. And to hear you guys call it the way you did, it was entertaining and really fun to listen to.
While some may have tuned in initially for the novelty, many stuck around because it was so exciting to watch. An important game for Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples, says Jason Chamakis.
The only thing that I can think of right now is wow. To be part of something that amazing, to have our languages broadcast into living rooms all across Canada, and to have people who don't understand the language hear how beautiful our Cree language sounds. It's amazing to be a part of.
Chamakis hopes the airing of this game is about more than just hockey.
I think we want everybody to get along and to care about one another, because I see a disconnect. And through something like this, our hope is that we build these bridges between people. That's what I'm hoping for, that this will lead to something good, something positive. Miuwi taskito, and we say in Cree, which is sharing the land together in a good way.
Studio analyst and former NHLer John Chabot says this can't just be a one-off.
The NHL has done a great job in reaching out to our new Canadians, but they've never really reached out to our pre-Canadians. And this is something that was a long time coming.
And it may not be a one-off. Talks are underway in the hopes of airing more games next season on APTN in different Indigenous languages. Dennis Ward, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
I know I'm looking forward to the next Rogers Hometown Hockey game in Cree on APTN, as the energy they bring is just top-notch. That'll do our show for tonight. For more Indigenous news, you can visit our website at aptnnews.ca. I'm Daryl Stranger. Have a great night.